Hi, in this video I'm going to take apart this active VE52, show you what it looks like on the inside. But before I do, I would like to give a shout out to Obsessed Garage for saving me from a whole load of misery. I was in the market for a electric pressure washer, didn't want a gas one, and they really saved my bacon, because I was going to get one of the sorry ones that they tested out. I watched all their videos of them testing all the product lines. If you haven't, I would suggest doing that. You will learn a lot. Go watch the Obsessed Garage videos on electric pressure washers. I'd like to give a shout out to Landon at Autolux Auto Detailing. He's the one that I first saw the video on this pressure washer. You know, he kind of, like, I don't know, gave me a lot of info on it. And then I'd like to give another shout out to Jibs. He and I actually talked some on this on YouTube about it, and actually found out that this pressure washer, the stats on it are very similar to the stats of the best ones that Obsessed Garage tested. So Landon did some of the stats, Jibs did a lot of the tested a lot of the stats. So check out their videos on this, but we'll go ahead and get started on this. This is my first one. I have two of them. This one crapped out on me. It would work, and then in a short time frame it would stop working, and I couldn't figure out what it was. At first I called up their customer service about it. They were very helpful. They didn't bother to question me once I was telling them everything it was doing. They were very receptive, very helpful, and they went ahead and sent this one, told me what needed to be done, and had this one on its way, and I got it within a very short time frame. So I'd like to give a shout out to the active Jobsite and their good customer service. The second one works like a champ, but this one messed up on me, and I'll tell you why. But I've already taken it apart, figured it out, and all that stuff, so some of the things are going to be already undone for convenience out of the video. But what you'll need to do if you want to know what it looks like on the inside, I'm about to show you. I'm not suggesting you take it apart or anything. I see no need unless you have problems, and even then, if you're in the 2-year warranty, no need unless you get you do what I did. But do it at your own risk. But you have these screws all on the back side of here, and all you do is let's see, undo them, take them out, and that will give you access to the pressure washer. That's really all that's holding this together. Not much at all, which in my opinion, simple is always better. If you can make something simple, it will make your life simple. So I've already got all the other ones loose. Now this half right here is going to have the cord in it. The cord is going to be attached to the inside of this via this little piece of plastic with 2 screws. I've already done it, so I don't have to worry, but you'll have to flip this over and then undo these screws, and then you'll be able to pull the cord off, and then this half just comes undone, and that's it. That's all you have to do to get into it. This is a little piece that goes around the button that just boop, flips off. This just pulls out, and boom. Now the venting, it looks like to me all the venting is on the bottom side. I kind of wish there was a little more, because motors just naturally get hot with use. So oh wait, there's a little bit right here on the side too. Kind of hard to tell, but more venting you can have, with electronics better. This is just an insulative case, I'm assuming, for the motor, because the motor gets hot and you wouldn't want it to necessarily melt the case that it's in, so that just slips off. Obviously your button. And how this works is your supply comes in, pressurizes it up. This is where your unloader valve is. I mean, that's a common part right here. They may be designed differently for the particular different kinds of pumps, but most, all pressure washers, I'm assuming, are going to have unloader valve. And basically what this does is when your regular water hose pressure comes in, provided you have this on, it's going to be at rest. There's a plunger in here with a spring on it, and the spring's always wanting to push this way to close off right here. Well, when this generates pressure, it's going to generate pressure because there's a switch in here, and this switch is sending power, or allowing power, directly to the motor. Okay, and you'll see it. I'll take this apart. When enough pressure builds up, say like you've got your hose, your pressure hose on this end, when it builds up pressure and you're not using it and it deadheads, then there is like a little looks like Delrin, whatever you call it, but a type of plastic that's shaped right here. It's on the other end of this unloader valve that's right here. When this builds up pressure, it's going to push on this valve, and that J piece, since it's on the outside, it's attached to it, it's going to push out as well. There is a electrical switch right here, and it has a button. When that J piece moves this way, it pushes down on the button. That kills power to your motor. That's how it does its start-stop. So when you depress the wand and you actually start using the pressure, the J piece goes back because the valve goes back because there's a loss of pressure. The button comes up. It allows electricity back to the motor, and then the cycle repeats. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and show you what I'm talking about right here. And if you have an issue, which I mean, you might, nothing's perfect. If you have an issue where your pump will kick on, then it won't kick off or whatever, it's either going to be one of three, well, in my experience, one of three things. Here's that switch I was telling you about. It just sits in here with two pins, 1, 2, and then here's the button I was telling you about. When it's pressed down, it kills power to the motor. When it's pressed up, it allows power to the motor to kick in, and the motor turns the pump via a gearbox. And you see, here's that J piece I was telling you about, J plastic piece right here. I don't know, this is all metric. I don't know what size it is, but I can tell you it's crescent wrench size. And I'll show you this valve right here. I was using this, but then when I started having like some sparks, like this pump as a whole, once I figured out what the problem was, I was like, oh well, I'll just keep it out of the case and just use it, and then they already got me sending me one, so I'll have two of them, I'll make out like a bandit. Well, that wasn't the case. I did use this one for a little while, but then it started showing its colors, and it started sparking a whole lot, and I was like, well, so much for that. You're just gonna be good for parts now. Spare pump. That's all this is. Spare pump. and spare unloader. Maybe a spare button if something happens to the other one, but I mean, I don't know. But realistically speaking, probably the motor is probably the may give out first on these. I don't know. But here's that unloader valve. When pressure, water pressure, extreme water pressure from this, I'm not talking about your hose, garden hose pressure, pushes on that like that. And of course I can't do it all the way because there's a pin in there. It'll push this piece out, and then, you know, it goes over the switch. And that's what kills it. Taking the motor from the pump, not that difficult. You're gonna need a 5mm Allen wrench or socket, and not that difficult. If you ever do this for whatever reason, and then you'll go back with it, this is aluminum, that's plastic. Don't wrench too hard on that. You may, it is plastic, so you can end up worse off than you were before, which I don't know why you would want to, unless you're having issues. I don't know why you want to take it apart. Flip it. And then you just pull it apart. That's it. Here's the meat and potatoes, what matters to me. That and loader valve. May probably keep that switch too. But you see, this is a bearing right here. This is the gear. This is practically, I'm thinking that this is a gearbox, and then this is part of your pump. I don't know, maybe, well, maybe just this portion right here, from what you see to about maybe right there, that's a gearbox, and the rest of this is probably going to be like pump. To me, for my particular case, that's what's good for me right here. The rest of this isn't. This is attached to your motor. This right here is a cover for your fan. That's all this is. Pop that off, boom, there you go. My problem was not the unloader, and it was not the switch. It was the motor itself. How I diagnosed it, I tested it out and isolated this, took it out, and recreated the problem basically. And when I did everything that would fix this or fix that or whatever, still wasn't coming on. So I'm like, well, what's the deal? So it's not going to sound very scientific what I'm about to say, but I took a rubber mallet and I hit this. And I know what you're thinking. It's kind of crazy. Excuse me. But actually I did the same thing that I would do if I was trying to diagnose a bad starter. Starters, if they get bad, they will sometimes land on a dead spot. And then when you try to crank the vehicle back up, it doesn't want to crank back up. So sometimes you got to go up under there while someone's turning on the key, get up in there and hit it, and that will jolt it, jar it, and get it out of that dead spot, and it'll actually crank up and go. Same principle with this. Like I said, not very scientific, but it wasn't working. I had the mallet and I just gave this a couple of taps, and when I did, kicked up, started running. So I was like, well, automatic. To me, automatic, bad motor. But that's when I said, I'll keep on, I'll just leave it out, you know, I'll just put it all back together and leave it all hooked up and use it like that. Well, I was doing that today, and then I started getting like some extreme sparks. And I was like, that's when I made the decision. it's no good. But if you look at this, this is really not that great right here. Like, I have a cordless impact that I have ran. It has ran and ran for years, and I've put it through all kinds of things. And it's actually, when people borrowed it, they gave it back to me covered in mud, oil, grease, and with smoke coming out the vents. Okay, and it looked, but it still worked. And that being said, the motor, it still feels fine. Okay, I did want to rebuild this, but I ran out. And the company no longer makes this parts for it anymore, so it sucks. But this right here feels rough as all get out. Okay, and it looks bad. And then on top of it, you can kind of see where it got too hot right here. You see that? Looks a little burnt right here on this brush. It got too hot, so that tells me that there was something serious going on, and it's probably when it started sparking on me. My particular issue ended up being the motor. So, but like I said, at the job site, they sent me a new one, no questions asked, and they were very helpful on it. So to me, all I have is I got a spare pump, unloader valve, and switch for what good it's worth. And the rest of this is just junk. I looked this is the part number or model is HC9650BL-120. It's probably the voltage designation for it. If Active or somebody sold this, I'd buy it. I'd buy this whole thing right here, slap it together and go, because that's still good. But yeah, so that's pretty much one of these torn apart. Not much to it. Like I said, shout out to Obsessed Garage, because they I can't say that they were very, if you watch them, they will keep you from making a mistake. And then people like Jibs and Landon adding to the discussion with this pressure washer. It's given the real world stats and figures on it. Very helpful. I'm glad I bought this pressure washer. The second one is great. I understand there can be flukes. I'm not going to dog this. In fact, I would still, just based off the performance of this one before it started messing up, and the new one, I would still suggest it. It's a great, so far it's a great pressure washer. With, you know, everybody has a lemon or something like that in the product line, so shouldn't hold that against them. But no, that's it in a nutshell. So thanks for watching the video.